Emotional day for the family of Sierra Lamar.
It feels like I've been living in a bad dream for the past year.
Today was the anniversary that no one wanted to wake up to.
I was hoping we wouldn't be here doing this.
The anguish and pain is just as difficult today as it was the day of the abduction. That hasn't changed.
Investigators said Sierra disappeared on the way to school on March 16, 2012. Her cell phone and purse were found in a field. Marlene Lamar said she moved out of her home in Morgan Hill to Los Gatos because the pain of losing Sierra here was just too much.
I was having some anxiety attacks. My heart was racing, and I would have a flood of memories of what possibly happened that day.
It doesn't seem real, like it still hasn't really hit me yet. It's just that we're not gonna stop looking, and we're not gonna forget. We're gonna find her.
A year later, every Saturday, volunteers come here to Burnett Elementary School to sign up to look for Sierra Lamar.
Obviously, we went to find out what happened to our daughter. We're sticking with, me as a parent, I'm sticking with finding her alive.
Every 40 seconds, a child goes missing somewhere in the United States. There are more than 460,000 missing children each year. Of those missing children, almost 1,500 of them are kidnapped, as in the case of Sierra Lamar. Sierra Lamar was born October 19, 1996, and raised in Fremont, California, and previously attended high school there. Her parents divorced before her disappearance, and she lived with her mother and her mother's boyfriend. They had moved to Morgan Hill only about 6 months before Sierra disappeared. She had no history of previously running away. Sierra left her home in the vicinity of Santa Teresa Avenue and Doherty Avenue in Morgan Hill, California at 6 a.m. on March 16, 2012. She was going to walk to the bus stop to catch a 7:35 a.m. bus to Ann Sabreto High School, where she was a sophomore and a cheerleader. Sierra texted a friend at 7:11 a.m. and agreed to meet her before class started. She never boarded her bus, never arrived at school, and never met her friend. Her mother found out she was missing that evening when the school contacted her to say Sierra had missed class. She had never been heard from again. On March 17th of 2012, Sierra's cellular phone was found on the roadside about 3/4 of a mile from her home. It appeared to have been tossed from a passing vehicle. A day after that, the police found her bag in a cactus field on the roadside about 2 miles from the bus stop and 1 mile from where her phone was found. The bag had Sierra's pants and t-shirt folded and placed inside. Foul play is suspected in her case. Antolin Garcia Torres had been under 24-hour surveillance since March 28th of 2012. His vehicle was seized on April 7th of 2012. DNA evidence used to arrest him links him to at least one assault in 2009. The incident involved a taser, and the victim managed to get away.
It's connected to the kidnapping of the 15-year-old. It's the biggest development we've seen so far. Action News reporter Felix Cortez has the latest live from Morgan Hill.
Well, Dan, you said it. This may be the biggest break since the teen went missing nearly 2 months ago. And investigators say they have surveillance video and witnesses to indicate that that car is connected to her disappearance. Calling it a significant break in the search for 15-year-old Sierra Lamar, investigators have released this photo of a red mid-90s VW Jetta. Detectives say it's similar to one that was seen near Sierra's home the day she went missing on March 16th.
This vehicle is most likely associated with her disappearance.
Detectives say they've known about the car for weeks, but just now decided to put the information out.
So it's something detectives knew about But, you know, in any big major case, especially a high-profile one like this, you know, you never want to put information out there, you know, unless, you know, you're certain or you have some other corroborating facts about that.
Investigators say they now have witnesses and surveillance video to lead them to believe the car is associated with the kidnapping of Sierra Lamar. Detectives say the car they're looking for has a black hood. They're not revealing what state the plates are from.
Another thing that they're not releasing is, was there a solo driver? Was there additional persons in the vehicle, to include Sierra? It's just something that they're not releasing at this point. They're hoping that, you know, witnesses call in and provide some additional information.
Neighbors hope it's the break that will bring the missing teen home.
Been watching the news and haven't heard, you know, any good news about it, you know. It's been all just very vague and, you know, nobody can find anything. Hopefully they'll find her, you know.
Many people believe they had never even met. Garcia Torres' fingerprint also was found on a battery found on a stun gun dropped by the assailant in one of his supermarket attacks. So police believe that Sierra's presumed murder was a random act of violence. Although she and Garcia Torres lived just 7 miles apart, there's no evidence that they had ever met prior to her disappearance. Laura Torres, the mother of Garcia Torres, said her son was not involved in the abduction. Torres told the San Jose Mercury News that she asked him before he was arrested if he had any contact with Sierra, and he said no. Like, really? He's going to tell his mother, yeah? I mean, come on now. Some of these mothers I do not understand. I've always told my kids, especially my son, if you do anything, I'm going to tell. I'm not going to condone that kind of behavior because you weren't raised that way. So for her to sit there and say, oh, he said no, like, okay, you know your son. You know, even if you don't know about that part of him, you can kind of assess what his temperament is, what kind of personality he has. So I'm not buying it. Not buying it at all. And his mother also said, as well as his sister and cousins, testified that he suffered from extreme poverty, abuse, incest, neglect, loss of loved ones, incarceration, and addiction that afflicted him throughout his life. Get the violence out. Many people have experienced many of the things that he has said that has tormented him through his life, as far as poverty, abuse, neglect, all of that stuff, addiction. There are so many people who can say the same thing, but they're not out here killing people. They're not out here sexually assaulting people and killing them. That makes no sense whatsoever. No, I'm not buying it, and I don't feel sorry for him. Garcia Torres' father, an alcoholic who sexually abused a female relative from age 5 to 14 while Garcia Torres was growing up, is serving a life sentence at Salinas Valley State Prison. Now that's sad that you had a father that was such a deviant and such a bad person, but that doesn't negate what you've done. And there is no reason for you to take on those characteristics or to do something doubly wrong. That makes no sense whatsoever. So no, not buying it. You know the difference between right and wrong.
Involving Sierra Lamar. Today, prosecutors filed new charges against the man accused of kidnapping and killing her. He is Antolin Garcia Torres. They also say that he attempted to kidnap 3 other women several years ago. Action News reporter Felix Cortez is live outside the courthouse in Morgan Hill with our top story.
Well, Dan, after months of investigating Antolin Garcia Torres, prosecutors dropped a bombshell when they filed those new charges. Legal analysts say this is significant evidence for the prosecution, who will use it to show a method of operation by Torres, that he's a predator of women.
But now you're starting to build a case of someone who's been a predator for a period of time.
The case against Antolin Garcia Torres just got stronger. Already accused in the kidnapping and murder of Sierra Lamar, prosecutors have now charged him with kidnapping 3 women while attempting to steal their cars.
They're going to use this as the building blocks of their case against him in the Sierra Lamar murder by showing a similar pattern of behavior, kidnapping females, and all in the same geographic area.
Prosecutors say all three cases happened in March of 2009. Investigators say he targeted women in a Safeway parking lot. All three victims were able to escape. Legal analyst Stephen Clark says there's strength in numbers for the prosecution. In this case, he says, it shows an MO of Torres, that he's a predator of women.
What they want to show is that Garcia Torres is capable of murder because look at his past behavior. When you paint that picture of a defendant, it becomes a big problem to come up with an innocent explanation for his encounter with Sierra Lamar.
Clark says the defense will likely ask a judge to separate the cases, arguing the new evidence is prejudicial to Torres. Prosecution will argue, he says, cases are too similar to separate. But there's still one potential roadblock for the prosecution. The Morgan Hill teen
has just been sentenced to life in prison. KPIX5's Kit Doe was there as the family faced their daughter's killer.
It was tears, hugs, and kisses outside the courthouse after Antolin Garcia Torres was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. After 5.5 years of investigation and trial, the Lamar family finally got to tell their daughter's convicted killer how he's devastated their lives. Sierra's mother, Marlene, made it a point to face him as she read, "I find it incomprehensible you can make a choice to perform a heinous crime to rape and murder a child. You would rob Sierra of what God had planned for her."
Have you had a chance to think about forgiveness at all, or is it too early for that?
No, not there. He has to tell us where she is first.
Father Steve Lamar did not pull any punches, saying, "I hope the fact that you not admitting what you did and where Sierra is will eat away at your brain like a cancer until you go insane while you rot in prison." Garcia Torres looked down, motionless, and avoided eye contact.
Just cowardly, just typical cowardly, yeah. He doesn't want to face us.
Garcia Torres was convicted of kidnapping, sexually assaulting, and then killing Sierra while she was walking to a bus stop in Morgan Hill in 2012. Her DNA was discovered in his vehicle, but her body was never found. Asked whether Garcia Torres offered to cut any deals and reveal the location of Sierra's remains, District Attorney Jeff Rosen had this to say.
The defendant is welcome to tell us where the body is.